everyone, my name's Allison and I'm one of the instructors here at Greenland. So today we're going to be making a cactus terrarium. So in front of me here I have everything that we will need to make our cactus terrarium in about 15 minutes. So when we are building a terrarium, we need to make sure that we have everything that the plant needs because this is its new home. So we are going to be adding pea gravel as the bottom layer for drainage. Charcoal here to keep the soil and the whole terrarium very clean. Our lovely plants. Quite the selection of cactus here, and most importantly, a really light and fluffy soil that has really good drainage so that our cactus don't get soggy. All right, and after we've planted our plants, it's time to accessorize with our stones and or driftwood there. So before we begin, I just want to say that you will need these 3 tools here. You're like, okay, a piece of paper, but yes, a piece of paper, a spoon, and some tongs. We are dealing with very prickly little creatures here, so we want to make sure that we don't mess up our hands a little bit. All right, so layer number 1, our drainage layer. We're going to add our pea gravel. So unlike our tropical terrarium, the cactus need more drainage just because they really don't like being wet. So we're going to add an extra layer of pea gravel to ensure that the roots of our cactus don't get soggy and rot. That's 1. Okay. Woo. Oh my gosh. Trying to get it open though. What is happening? There we go. Okay, number 2. So we want to make sure that our layers are nice and level. I'm just using my hand going around. Okay, so now we have our drainage layer. Next layer is our charcoal. So this is really, really messy, so I advise not handling it with your hands directly. So I'm going to keep it in the bag and just pour it in. And it'll be about 1 inch of charcoal. After we're done, using a spoon, level it all out. Okay, it looks pretty good. So our next layer is our soil, and that's what we will actually be planting our cactus into. So I'm going to add about 3 to 4 inches of soil here. And I really like using a cup to scoop the soil just because it keeps it nice and clean. Okay, let's see where we're at here. I'm not going to be packing the soil at all, keeping it nice and fluffy, and you want to make sure that there aren't any clumps in here either. Need a little bit more here. Let's see about this. One more scoop and I think that should be good. All right, so what I like to do is just take my hand and go around the outside of the container and just gently pack it. Just keeps the layers from mixing when you water. Okay. All right, so now it's time to plant our cactus, and a few of these are really prickly, so what I like to do is wrap them in paper, and I'll show you this in a minute. Wrap them in paper so that you don't get the prickles on your hand, and it just makes for easier handling. But first, what I'm going to do is make a little bit of a well so that I know where this cactus is going. And this one here isn't actually a cactus, it's a euphorbia, so it falls into the succulent family, but they all have the same requirements. They like really bright light, and they like to dry out completely in between watering, so that's key. All right. Alrighty, so here we go. Have our paper wrapped around like this. Gonna tip it upside down, gently squeeze, and take it out of its pot. Tease the roots just a little bit. Cactus have very fine roots, so we don't need to disturb their root mass too much. Alrighty, get this guy in here. This is where your tongs come in handy, just for placement. So this one isn't that prickly, but I always like to be cautious just in case. So gently pack it in around the outside so it doesn't fall over in there. All right, cactus number 1. So secondly, I'm gonna build another little well here. Getting ready. And let's do this guy next. So this one has very unique little barbs on it, actual like little tiny hooks. So again, I'm gonna use my paper because those things hurt when they get stuck in your hands. So let's try and keep our fingers safe. I'm gonna turn it upside down or sideways, squeeze gently. And this one I'm gonna keep on its side just because the roots are so delicate. And because he's a little bit top heavy, I'm gonna use the tongs versus the paper to place him into our terrarium. So try and be gentle. And our spoon. Okay, these things like their space. So I'm holding it with the spoon and I'm just gonna get the soil to go around the roots a little bit here so it doesn't fall over. Alrighty. So we've got this guy in there. They'll be a little bit wobbly for a little bit until you get your rocks and the rest of the soil all packed down, but just be very diligent and go around the outside of the whole thing and pack that soil down gently. All right, so I'm gonna make a well for my third cactus here. Just a little one. I'm gonna snuggle them in a little bit closer to the other two just to give it a little bit more effect. So again, using my handy dandy piece of paper, just going to grab this guy like this, squeeze the pot, and out he comes, okay. Tease the roots just a little bit there. Okay. These things hold on to everything, so I'm going to handle this one with the tongs right from the beginning here. A little bit closer to the bottom. Okay. So the reason I did this super fuzzy one last is because it tends to hold on to perlite and soil the most. So if you do the ones that don't really hold on to soil that easily, then you're gonna have really nice clean cactus at the end. So we've got this little guy all snuggled in here now, just making sure that the soil is nice and level. The best you can do, it's a little bit tricky working around cactus sometimes, but there we go. So that looks great. So now it's time to accessorize. So what I've picked is a very natural looking stone. And I'm just going to put this all over the top of the soil to cover up the soil. It's also really good to put rocks around the base of cactus because it allows the water to drain away and not sit right at the base of them, which can make them rot. So it's decorative, but also functional. And rather than just pouring the rocks right in, we're going to do a small handful at a time, just around the outside. Now using the spoon, I'm just gonna spread these out a little bit to cover the rest of the soil. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to add in some driftwood just to give it a little bit more, more accent here. And these can go in out any way that you like. Try and make it look a little bit natural if you want. You can use the tongs if you need, but hands seem to work just fine for this part here. Okay. Let's see. All right, and there you have it. Now we've made our cactus terrarium and it looks lovely.